Hey y'all, it's Crystal from Crystal's Beautiful Chaos, and I have a craft video for you guys today. So let's just jump right into it with the first one. These are all going to be nautical themed because I had just a little bit in my stash that I wanted to get rid of. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm taking this pack of 6 starfish, wooden ornament starfish from the Dollar Tree. I'm giving all of them one quick coat of the white chalk paint by Waverly. And then I'm going to mix up a combination of paints to come up with a coral color. So it's going to be this Waverly Ballet Slipper in pink, a little bit of the pink cameo by Apple Barrel, a little bit of the brick red by Apple Barrel, and a little bit of the marigold, I believe, yellow by Apple Barrel to get a coral color that I wanted. And then I'm going to paint just the 3 of the stars. They have little circles on them embossed on the wood. You can't really tell, but I'm going to paint leaves. Get your words right, girl. Jesus. Paint 3 of them completely pink and then have the dots white, and then I'm going to do the opposite with, so right here I'm using this white star and I'm just doing the little circles, that coral pink color. And so I'll have 3 white with pink coral colors and then 3 coral colors with white. You guys will see. Y'all, I am so sorry. I accidentally cut some of this footage out, but I just used this grapevine wreath I had on hand from Dollar Tree and some of the like droopy greenery they're selling now because it reminded me of seaweed. And then I glued the greenery to the wreath form because that stuff was tight. I could not squeeze it in, so I just hot glued it all. I used that little horizontal canvas sign that says mermaids have more fun. All of this stuff is from the Dollar Tree. And then I'm using, as you see me gluing there, it's like this mesh type ribbon. It just has like a nautical feel to me. So I use that as the hanger and I just hot glued that to the wreath form as well. And I glue the starfish on here on either side of that sign in a pattern. So it goes white, pink, white, pink, white, pink. You guys will see. And I just hung it up on my privacy fence gate to show you guys once it's completed. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these DIYs because this isn't my forte typically of decorating, so I might have to sell all these, but it was super fun making them and I think these turned out super cute. And here's that wreath finished hanging up. I think it's pretty. You know, even though it's not my style, I do think it came out really pretty. I wish I lived closer to water, then it would be more my thing, but it's not. So let's just move on to DIY number 2. I'm making another wreath. So I had 4 rolls of this mesh from Dollar Tree, and I'm just using my cutting mat and rotary cutter here. And I'm cutting it down to 8 inches long. So I had a whole bunch of bundles of this stuff. And you guys are going to see, I'm not going to make you guys watch all the cutting process because you'd be sitting here even longer then. But then once I get done with the 4 rolls of the mesh, look at all that, you guys. That was just half of it. I'm going to use this pink and tan ribbon I had on hand from Walmart. I had bought it for $1 on clearance. And I cut 10-inch strips out of all this. And then I do the same thing with that other roller ribbon you see sitting there. That's like a turquoise and tan color. So it's the same material, just different colors. And then I'm also going to do the same with that white mesh ribbon that I used on the previous DIY for the door hanger. I'm going to cut those down into 10-inch strips. So all the ribbon is 10-inch strips. You want it a little longer than what you do the mesh with, simply because you want to be able to see it once it's all bundled together. So once I get all that cut down, I do dovetail all of the ribbon, as you see here, or just fold it into itself and cut down on an angle. So I do that with the blue, the pink, and this white mesh ribbon as well. And then once that's done, we're going to take 3 pieces of the mesh. You just roll it up. This was the first time I've ever done a mesh wreath like this, you guys, and I think it turned out beautiful. So I took 3 of those and I just crisscrossed them across each other, and then I put 1 piece of the ribbon of your choice. So I did like 1 bundle of this goes with one of the white mesh pieces, then 1 bundle with the blue ribbon, then 1 bundle with the pink. And you guys, and I tie it off in the back with a Chanel stem, or pipe cleaner as I like to call them. The only color I could find that would go anywhere close to matching this was white, so that's what I had to work with, and those are from Walmart. I think I got a pack of them for 82 cents a piece, and I think I picked up 2 or 3 packs. Once I got all those little bundles of mesh and ribbon combined on a Chanel stem, I'm going to take this square wreath form, also from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to tie 1 bundle at a time. So I'm going to tie it to the middle bar, and the outer one, all the way around in a pattern. So I did white mesh, blue ribbon, pink ribbon, white mesh, blue, and so on and so forth until I filled up the bulk of this. There is going to be like a quarter of it not filled in, and that's fine by me because I'm going to add to that. But I just went all the way around this square as much as I could with all the bundles. I did not count how many bundles I ended up having out of the 4 rolls of mesh and all that, but it's quite a few. Okay, y'all, so I set my wreaths aside for now, and I'm going to take this tag, also from Dollar Tree, and it's one of those wooden tags with the cork in the center with the octopus, and I don't know if you guys remembered me hauling this, but I told you guys for some reason this little octopus tag just does it for me. I think it's adorable, but I wanted to snazz it up a smidge. So I'm going to take the Waverly Antique Wax and a baby wipe, and I'm going to faux stain the wood that you can see around the cork with that. Not super dark, just light. Not perfect either, because I want it to look kind of distressed. When I think of nautical and sea-themed things, I think distress, I think worn, things like that in that nature. So once I do that, then I'm going to take this apple barrel paint in the Mermaid Parade, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to dip my baby wipe, the same baby wipe I used for the antique wax, into that paint a little bit, dab some excess off, and then I'm going to go around the edges of this and give it a little bit of blue hint to it. Once that's done, I set that tag aside, and now I'm going to take the 6-piece of starfish little clothespins. Now, some of those starfish did pop off of those clothespins in the package, but I just go back with my hot glue gun and glue them back on. And I'm just giving these one quick rough coat, just the stars only, of that Mermaid Parade so it matches with the other stuff I have going. After those are done being painted, I set them aside to dry, and then I'm going to take this beaded garland, also from Dollar Tree, and it has the anchors on it. So I'm going to give the anchors all a quick dry brush of that Mermaid Parade by Apple Barrel, and I think there's 4 of the anchors. In between those 4 anchors, there are 5 square wooden beads. So once I get all the anchors painted, I decide to paint the 3rd square bead in each section, that mermaid blue as well, but in a very rough coat, as if it's dry brush, to give it that age effect as well. Once those beads are done, I set those aside to dry, and now I'm going to go back to the tag, and I'm going to hot glue one of the pipe cleaners to the back top of it, the tag, and then I'm going to reinforce that with some of this foil duct tape, also from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to do the same towards the bottom of the tag as well. That way we have something on the back of this tag to hang to that wreath that we worked on with the mesh. Here you see, excuse me. Here you see, I just hot glued those starfish that popped off those clothespins back onto it. Sorry, you guys, I have a little frog in my throat. Anyhow, then I take the tag, and now I'm using those pipe cleaners to attach it to the wreath form. So I'm going to attach it using those same 2 wires, the middle wire and the outer wire of the wreath form. I do that on the bottom of the tag and then on the top. And then I'm going to use my starfish pins, and I'm going to just clip them here and there throughout the mesh of the wreath. And then I'm going to use that beaded garland that I worked on, and I'm going to have it draping across the middle where the whole of the wreath is. You guys will see that shortly. I tie it to one side of the wreath form behind the tag, and then I drape it across, and I'll tie it to the other end of the wreath form, which you won't be able to see either end tied because of all this mesh that it's intertwined in. And then I do secure some of those beads and one of the anchors down to that wood tag, just so that way the beads weren't like just willy-nilly jiggling everywhere. And here she is, all completed. Super pretty, super elegant, but totally nautical at the same time. Still have this frog, sorry you guys. I did hang it on my gate of the privacy fence just for, staging and picture purposes. DIY number 3, and that's the last one in this. So I'm just taking this wooden anchor from, guess what? The Dollar Tree. Cut the tag off of where it was at, and then I'm going to use this napkin, which is also from Dollar Tree. I'm taking it apart, so it's 2-ply, so I'm just taking off the back ply of that, so we just have the printed version. Now this technique here is new to me. I've seen it used a few times from other YouTubers and on Facebook creators, and I wanted to give it a try, and I'm going to tell you guys now, I am obsessed with this. Instead of Mod Podging, we're going to use the saran wrap or cling wrap to adhere this to that anchor. So first, what you want to do, once you get the plies apart, you want to lay a piece of parchment paper down and run your iron over this just to get the seams, the fold seams out of your napkin. So I did that, and as you see, the parchment paper was slightly smaller than the napkin, so I did have to move it around here and there. Now I'm going to take that anchor again, and I'm going to use a piece of the saran wrap or cling wrap. This is just by Glad. I got it from Dollar Tree, and I just cut off a piece of it. Now, I didn't want the napkin the whole way up on this anchor, so I laid the saran wrap down to where I think I want it. I'm going to trim off some of the excess with a pair of scissors at the bottom here, and then I'm going to lay my napkin over top of the cling wrap. And then once I'm done with that, I put that parchment paper back over the napkin. You guys, wait till you see how easy this is. This was the easiest part of this DIY. The worst part of it was the embellishment I add towards the end. So there's the napkin on the saran wrap. There's the parchment paper. Not wax paper. Do not use wax paper, just parchment paper. So I have my iron set on the highest setting for cotton, and I'm just setting my iron down for like 3 to 5 seconds at a time in each section and letting that heat up and then moving it along. Once I get that done, this adheres to that piece of wood beautifully, and then I'm going to use my scissors once this cools down to cut off the excess napkin and saran wrap, and then I'm going to use my 80 grit sandpaper that was in my stash from Dollar General. It's horrible quality, but it works for the trimming purposes. There's not a bubble in sight on this napkin, and I just couldn't believe how easy this was, how messless it was compared to using Mod Podge, because you know usually you have glue stuck to you somewhere. So there I go, cutting off the excess saran wrap and napkin, always out of frame because you guys know I'm a hot mess, hence the reason Kristal's Beautiful Chaos. And then I'm going to go over the edges with my sandpaper in a downward motion. Do not go upwards if you guys redo this on anything, because you will rip off your napkin in saran wrap. So I just go all the way around this anchor, even right there at the top, which is fine because I'm going to have an embellishment over that. And so you guys will see how flawless this part comes out. Now for the remaining part of that anchor that is not got anything on it, I'm just using my Antique Waverly Wax and a baby wipe to do that faux stain effect again on the top part of this anchor. I am dabbing off the excess wax on that back side of the napkin I had pulled off. And I'm just going to go around the top of this, and then I'll also distress the edges of where that napkin is as well, just so it looks more worn and used. Now that the anchor is done, I wanted to give this something else, so I decided to take another one of those wood bead garlands from the Dollar Tree, and this one has the sailboats on it. So the only thing I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to use these paint markers from Amazon, and I'm going to paint the 4 little charms that are on here that have sailboats. My first thing was I wanted to do it like the circle around the sailboat, like a silver color, because there is silver in that napkin I had put on the anchor. However, this silver is like a gunmetal gray, and it was not what I was looking for. So I found this glittery silver paint marker from the Dollar Tree in my stash. So I did 2 of the little charms with the gunmetal gray, and then I went over it with that silver paint marker you see me using there. And then the other 2 I just did regular silver paint marker. So it'll be 1 darker silver, 1 lighter silver, 1 darker silver, 1 lighter silver. For the sails of the boat, I'm going to make them orange. I use my paint markers for the charms all the way around because it was just easier to control. But the sails are going to be a little bit of orange and then like a royal blue. And then I'm also going to use one of the blue glitter paint markers from Dollar Tree, the very bottom of the sailboat, because it looked like it was supposed to be water to me. So it's like a blue glitter to make it look like ocean water. Once that beaded garland is all done being painted and all that, I'm going to tie it to the top of this anchor, right where that hole is. We will cut off the excess string once we get to that. But I'm just placing this like in a zigzag pattern across the front of this anchor. Now, here's the thing. These were tied pretty tight together, so it wasn't easy to manipulate these right away. So I do have to go back at the end of it and untie the string so I can move these beads and charms around more easily and freely. That way I can manipulate it so it's laid across this anchor the way I wanted it to be, because you're going to see me having to twist some of the string so that the charms in that laid the way I wanted it to, because I was too lazy to paint the back of these charms. I'm not going to lie to you guys. And that way it could just lay the way I wanted it. And then I will use a dab of hot glue to secure those charms down to the front of the anchor as I go, along with one little piece of the bead. As you see right here, I'm just retying that string to the bottom bead where I had untied it at. That way nothing falls apart. And then I glue down that little piece of bead that I want it glued down. Sorry for the buzzing, you guys. And this one is completed, I do believe. Yep, I just pulled off any of that, like, hot glue hair, as I call it. It drives me insane. I just staged it on my bar top with this little gnome and the fishing net, and I think it turned out super cute. Like I said, nautical is really not the thing that we do in the house, but these did turn out amazing. Now I just got to figure out what to do with them. You guys let me know what you think of these crafts and which one was your favorite. I will talk to you guys soon. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. I love you all so much for spending some of your precious time with me. Talk soon.